Alright, what's up guys? My name is MisterET. Welcome to the vlog. So you're looking at buying a used MK7 or a brand new MK7.5 GTI, and you're not sure if you want to buy it with an automatic DSG transmission or a 6-speed manual? Well, this video will give you everything you need to know to make the right choice. Stay tuned. So each one of these transmissions is for different buyers. Let's talk about the DSG transmission first. If your goal is to have the fastest car, then definitely this transmission is for you. It's going to shift way faster than the manual is ever going to shift, even if you're a fantastic driver. It's also going to give you some, I would say, easier, more accessible, not necessarily cheaper, but more accessible tuning options. So you can reflash the TCU, which is the transmission control unit, instead of having to swap out a clutch like you would in a manual transmission car. So that will give you different shift points and make the shifts a little bit firmer. So on that front, for tunability, the DSG is a bit more interesting. You know, if you're one of those people that really enjoys that sound that the car makes when it's a DSG transmission, again, that transmission is probably the right one for you. The most obvious, I mean, if you don't drive manual and you're not looking to learn to drive manual, then of course the DSG is your only option. The other thing we have to talk about is price. So the DSG option is pricier than the manual. It's about $1,500 Canadian more than it would be for the manual transmission. There's also some maintenance costs that are going to be a little bit higher. You have to look after that transmission, change its oil a bit more often than you do in a manual transmission car. And the type of oil that it uses is actually a bit more expensive than the manual transmission oil. So you have to keep that in mind, that for maintenance costs, this is going to be a more expensive transmission to look after. Also, if you're going to very high horsepower options, you're changing out turbos, you're getting closer to 450, 500 wheel horsepower, or you want to go even higher than that, then the DSG will need to come out. You're going to need to change the clutch packs, and you're going to need to change a whole bunch of stuff in there. And again, that's going to be a lot more expensive than having a manual transmission car, where you'll probably be able to use most of the internals stock without and just simply have to replace the clutch pressure plate and potentially the flywheel as well. Another thing that's really interesting about the DSG is the paddles. So a lot of people like the paddles on the steering wheel, going with the plus minus, so upshift, downshift. They like to have the ability to put the transmission in normal drive mode as well as sport mode. That's going to keep the shifts a little bit longer. So that gives you some interesting options. Not the same as a manual transmission car, but again, for drivability, for stop and go traffic, if you have a lot of that in your area, if you're going to be commuting long distances with the car, the DSG is going to be a better option for you. Now let's talk about the manual transmission. So the manual transmission is really, I would say, for those that are more purists, that really like to drive their car, that really like to have the control over their car. So if you want that ultimate control over the accelerator pedal, know exactly how much thrust you're going to get at any given point, if you want to get some engine braking going to help you brake the car as well, that will give you more control than you would have in a DSG car. If you like rowing your own gears, if you like getting that mechanical feel from the car, if you like to feel connected with the car as you're driving it, and you like to feel how the engine is responding and all of that, and choose the engine RPM, of course, where you're going to be shifting. Perhaps in certain cases you want to keep the gear a little bit longer. In other cases you probably want to shift a little bit sooner because you're not looking for any noise or anything like that. For those instances, having the manual transmission is a bit more fun. The manual transmission, if you're on a tight budget and you've already optioned out a number of different things on the car, these GTIs are not necessarily cheap cars. For those who are on a budget, you know, driving the manual transmission car is going to be cheaper overall. So as I was saying earlier, so it's about $1,500 Canadian cheaper to purchase the car that way. And as well, for maintenance costs, it's going to be a bit cheaper over time throughout the life of the car. Also, for the manual transmission, and that's just personal preference, you may not agree with me, I find that looking at the lever in the manual transmission car looks actually cooler than looking at the DSG option. You know, they're both really well built. They use good quality materials. They feel really nice and solid when you're in the car in both cases. But looking at the manual transmission, which is the one I have, so I'm looking at it right now, you know, you can look at that golf ball and it is reminiscent of the fact that you're in a Golf GTI, so that's also really nice, and it looks really high quality, well built. One of the final things is, you know, if you're looking at customizing your car and customizing the interior, if you've got the manual transmission, you know, you can change the shift knob, you can change your shift boot, which is a lot easier to do than it would be in the automatic car and the DSG car that doesn't necessarily give you that customizability. So in both cases, they're really, really great options. And the GTI as a whole, so I'm going to leave a link in the description as well as the cards above here to look at some of my other videos where, you know, I look at the mods and I review long-term, you know, how I feel about my GTI, my personal car. But, you know, having the DSG option, having the manual option, they're both fantastic. I've been driving the manual transmission one for 40,000 kilometers. I love the feel of that shifter. I used to drive Hondas before, so they have really fantastic manual transmission shifters, S2000s, Civic SIs. I would say this isn't quite as mechanical as those shifters feel, but it's very smooth, it feels very solid, it feels very refined, and it fits the car very well. The pedal, as far as effort, is also very light, so even if you're stuck in stop and go traffic for long periods of time, it's very easy to modulate. Even if you're learning to drive manual, it's a very easy manual transmission to learn and to get right. So I feel, I've looked at a lot of videos and a lot of different websites where, you know, people install a number of different things to get a different type of feel from their manual transmission car. And I may do some of these things in the future, but even in stock form, it's a really, really nice transmission. Okay, so thank you for listening to me rambling about these two different transmissions. I hope this has helped you make the right choice. Buying a GTI in the first place is the right choice. Now choose the right transmission for your needs, and I hope this video will help you. So again, my name is MisterET. If you like the content of this video, if you'd like to look at other videos that I've been making about this car, please do hit that like button, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Stay tuned.